What's up, y'all? This is Jesse. You're watching JMillzNFLTalk. So here we are, episode 5, and I'm just barely touching on my favorite teams here, 49ers and the Broncos. The reason I waited so long is I wanted to make it clear that this blog is to talk about the NFL, and I want to try to be as non-biased as I possibly can. Now, the reason I like two teams, the Niners, number one, when I was just a young lad back in the early 90s, I started getting into football and decided to go with the 49ers as my favorite team. That's back when Montana and Rice, Young and Rice connection was working its magic, and I've been a fan ever since. Not a fair weather fan either. I've been representing to the fullest every single year, even though the last 4 or 5 years have been pretty terrible, is I guess the best way we can put it. As for being a Broncos fan, I moved out to Colorado about 11 years ago, and it's hard not to become a Broncos fan with all the exposure that they've got out here. I mean, you can watch every single game, and the news talks about them all the time. So basically, they just grew on me. So Niners number one, Broncos are my number two, and really the only time I have to worry about it is if they play each other, which is usually only preseason, and if both of them happen to make it to the Super Bowl. So let me get right down to talking about my Niners here. I know every single year I always say, yeah, this is their year, or I'll always say they'll go 500 this year. Maybe they'll make the playoffs this year. That's just me being a good fan and being optimistic. Something about this year, though, is a little bit different. I always believe myself when I say it, but there's an extra oomph when I say that the Niners are going to do a lot better this year. First of all, they've got a pretty good they've got a pretty good coach that they just brought in with Mike Singletary. Hard-nosed quarterback. He's going to be bringing the best out of all of his players, and I'm pretty excited that they brought him in and finally made him the head coach. As for the quarterback, Sean Hill's coming in. He's going to be the starter this season, and he's got a 7-3 record as a starter. So I think with the full season under his belt, we're going to see what this guy is made of, for better or for worse. Fortunately, he's not going to have to carry the team, so it's going to set him up for some success. Now, the Niners are going to be relying more on a run game this year, and we got Frank Gore. Dude is a beast, and I've known he was going to be a beast as soon as the Niners picked him up. Back when he was in Miami, Willis McGahee and Clinton Portis backed Frank Gore up until Frank Gore got hurt. So that says a little bit about his talent level. He was in front of those two guys in college. Now, they picked up a rookie, Glenn Coffey, and he's been doing pretty decent here in the preseason. It's going to be interesting to see how well he fills in the reserve role to Frank Gore once the full season starts. And then Michael Robinson is a pretty athletic guy. He hasn't quite panned out to be a top-notch running back like we've expected, but he's a pretty versatile guy, and he can do a lot of things. You know, he's a jack of all trades, master of none type of guy. Biggest question mark that we have, I think, is going to be on the O-line, and we'll just have to see how well they play. They try to bring in some depth, try to draft some talent the last couple of years, but it hasn't panned out the way the Niners wanted it to. So that's where my biggest concern is at. And then you have the wide receiver position. Yeah, there's the whole Michael Crabtree fiasco. I don't even want to get into that because it's going to be a whole nother rant. But besides that, I mean, the Niners don't have the best receivers in the NFL, but they've got a pretty solid group there. They've got the veteran in Isaac Bruce, Arnaz Battle. He's definitely slept on. Josh Morgan, he's gonna break out this year, and then Brandon Jones was just signed from Tennessee, and he got hurt. But before he got hurt, it looks like he was doing some good things there. So I'm pretty excited about the wide receiver core and what they're going to be able to do this year. And yes, that's without Crabtree. I'm excited. On the defensive side of the ball, got to start with our man at linebacker, Patrick Willis. I almost forgot his name there. Almost got him confused with Peyton Hillis with the Broncos. So we'll get with him later because that guy's a stud too. But Patrick Willis, man, that guy's bad. I mean, he's a tackling machine. He's in every play. And I think, what is this, his third season? And dude just keeps getting better. Building the defense around him. Pass rush is also a question mark. So, I mean, you got question marks on the O-line, you got question marks on the D-line. Got to get pressure on the quarterback, and unfortunately, preseason didn't really show that pressure was going to be there. So I'm still a little bit concerned with that. But the linebacker core is pretty strong, again, with Willis anchoring it. Takeo Spikes is also a solid veteran. And then the secondary with Nate Clements and Shante Spencer at the corners. As long as the defense can be a middle of the pack defense, which I think at least they'll be able to do, they're going to be able to do some big things over there in 49er land. Now let's